When Steve Jobs started Apple, not many people know this, but he said, even if we lose our money, we'll have a company. He knew something about success that 99% of people don't know. This video is for you if you want to achieve amazing things in your life. It's not your typical self-help bullshit about setting goals, building systems, building good habits, but what I'm going to provide you with is a fundamental shift in your relationship with what you desire in order to get what you want out of life. I'm going to share with you, number one, why your mindset has been corrupted. Why, over the years, your mindset is in a place where you can't get what you want. Number two, I'm going to share with you the reality distorting mindset that Steve Jobs and other great people have in order to get what they want. Number three, I'm going to share with you the 5 beautiful things that you will experience, that other great thinkers have experienced by adopting this mindset. And number 4, I'm going to share with you the 3 reality distorting practices that I do every single day in order to keep my mindset in good nick, in order to distort reality and create the future that I want for myself. Let's get into it, brother. All right, so we understand that we want to distort reality. We want to put ourselves in a position where we can control everything around us, our environment, ourselves, so that we can get what we want. But what we need to understand before we get into this mindset is why it's actually wrong, why the current state and why the way that you're thinking is not in a good place in order to distort reality. And the place that we need to start is actually a story about me 2 years ago where I was applying for a data analytics job. So to give you a bit of context, I had resigned from Amazon, a great company, great pay apparently. I was meant to have great progression opportunities, great opportunities to learn and develop. And one day I woke up in the morning and I was like, mate, I'm not doing this anymore. And the reason for that was because I hated it. I was just felt like I was doing mind-numbing, soul-sucking work. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm better than this. And so one day I literally woke up and I was like, messaged my manager and I was like, this is my last day. I think I had a week's notice or something like that. So I basically handed my notice in and left, and it was about 4 or 5 months into the employment, and then I took a few months off, and I'd been trying to set up my furniture store. I tried to start a YouTube channel, and I was working for this after school club and breakfast club. And to be honest, I got tired of cleaning up Rice Krispies after little kids. And so I was like, right, let's just go get a job. So I got a job. Well, I decided that I was going to start applying for jobs in the data analytics space. And I knew a friend, it was actually my brother's friend, that worked for a consulting company, a top consulting company in the industry. And I was like, you know what? This is my golden ticket. This is my way to get in, because traditionally in the data analytics space, it is a little bit difficult to get a job and you need some experience. But I thought, you know what? I know this guy, maybe he can get me a foot in and then I'll be sorted. And so I then basically sent him an email and I was awarded 2 interviews. First stage interview, which I passed with flying colours. And then I went to the final interview. And before this final interview, I prepared like a motherfucker. What I mean by I prepared like a motherfucker, I was like 12 hours a day, sat on my laptop, chained to my desk, stopped going to the gym, literally just like practicing case interviews. So if you're not aware of what consulting interviews are like, what you have to do is basically you have to go into this interview and do like a little bit of a role play exercise, like a little bit of a, Britain's Got Talent audition, but just for consulting jobs. So they might ask you a question like, how many burgers are sold in McDonald's every single year? And you have to come up with some logical solution to that using your brain. And so the way to prepare for this kind of interviews, you just do loads of practice and you think about the different types of questions that they can ask and you drill it. And so that's what I did. And I was like, yeah, I need to do this. And I placed a lot of excess importance, and I'm going to be talking about importance and how it actually holds you back in a minute, but I placed a lot of excess importance on this goal. And I was like, all right, if I don't get this, I'm not going to get a job. I need this job. I got so in my head about it. I got so obsessed about it. I got to the interview and I thought I'd, done all right. I answered all the questions. I did the best that I could. I was passionate. I was keen. And then the next day, and you might have experienced this before, but I was literally unlocking my email literally 100 times maybe that day, and I got no response. I was left hanging by this company that I'd worked so hard for a fucking interview. And the next day after that, same again, no response. And I was like, these guys don't care about me. Surely they would have decided. And then I was planning on going on holiday with my family to Tenerife, and I didn't just cancel the holiday. I went on holiday, but all I could think about was this bloody interview, and it was getting in my head, and I was like, oh my God, like literally giving me anxiety. And the thing is, I'd stopped exercising, which again is like putting so much importance on this interview. And eventually, right on the last day of my holiday, imagine a 5-day holiday, all-inclusive hotel, I could have been enjoying myself, having fun, and I was just worrying about this poxy interview. And they emailed me and they said, oh, we didn't want to keep you waiting, so we thought we'd send you an email. And I was like, those fuckers. And I was literally, my heart sank, and I was like, great. That's that. But the point here is that, like, when you work hard for something, when you desire something, when you put so much importance on something, you put all your time and effort into it, often that is the thing that holds us back. But the thing is, this is what we're taught from a young age. When I was younger, when I was a little boy at school, my teachers used to tell me that busy people are successful people. They used to say, work hard. But what I realize now is that this has just come from the Industrial Revolution. For the most of time, actually, we lived in hunter-gatherer tribes. We lived as people in the wilderness, roaming the fields in these small tribes, and uncertainty, unpredictability would have been a natural part of life. And then in the Henry Ford era, these big machines came along, and there was a massive shift in the way that work was done. And I won't go too much into it, but this shift basically created this idea that we need salaries, and everything would be measured by the amount of time that we put into something. Because you can imagine a worker, his output is directly proportional to the amount of time that he spends on the task, okay? And so then what happens is school starts to mirror this factory work, because they start to spit out kids that are really good at working on the machines, because that is what's good for society in that time. And so school starts to mirror this by having fixed schedules, by having syllabuses which you are tested on your ability to memorize things, and you sit in rows. And what this does is create this culture and create this belief in our heads as we grow up that if we spend time on something, if we work hard, we will get paid in a month, basically, okay? But this is the problem, because whenever we go and do something new, and by definition, when we do something new, the outcome is uncertain. The outcome is gonna not be guaranteed. We feel like we've failed. We feel like there's something wrong, because we're conditioned into believing that every single month we should get a salary for the work that we're doing, because this is how it's been conditioned into us from the industrial age, right? And Nassim Taleb has a great quote, and he says, 3 most harmful addictions: carbohydrates, oh fuck, I love carbs, 2, heroin, and then number 3, a monthly salary. And the reason why he says this is because when you have a monthly salary, you get conditioned into thinking that if you work for a month, you get paid in a month. But this is the mindset that is holding you back from achieving all your dreams, because in order to achieve your dreams, in order to distort reality, in order to get what you want out of life, you have to do what other people don't. You have to go away from this predictable system. You have to go away from certainty, because doing something new has a feature, not a bug, a feature of unpredictability, because it is new, right? Like, just think about that for a second. If something is new, then it's gonna have something that is uncertain, because no one's done it before. And yeah, you can probably increase your chances of certainty by spending more time on it. But the idea that you're going to be able to get paid for something in a month because you've tried once at it is actually nonsense if you think about it. And once you understand that we've just been conditioned to think that we should get paid and we should see results within a month, then you realize that real life and real success isn't anything like that. And you actually escape the matrix, and you can go on to achieve what you want in life. And so society has programmed us to think in this way, right? But the solution isn't working harder or faster. It's making one simple but profound mental shift. So I have a pen here, okay? And there's a great book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. If you haven't read it and you want to achieve great things in life, then please go and read it. But in the book, and I read it recently, I read it when I first got to Bali, and in the book, he gives the example of a pen. And when you have a pen on the table and you want to pick it up and you want to write, do you desire to pick up that pen? No, you just intend to pick it up. You set the intention in your head. You say, I'm going to pick up this pen, and then you go and pick it up. And you don't start to calculate exact movements of all your muscles, the trajectory of how your hand is going to get down there. You just allow your body to do what it's meant to be doing, and your brain, in order to pick up the pen, and you don't think about each individual part. But when we go and set goals for ourselves, we do. And this is the mentality that holds you back, because you think that you need to stress over every single little thing when you're setting a goal, because we place this excess importance on the shot that we're taking, okay? Because we think that this shot is the be all and end all. And this is a fundamental shift that you need to make, because when you intend to do something, it is not about, I'm going to share exactly in a minute why this makes sense with a story from literally Steve Jobs. But when you intend to have it, right, you can take unlimited shots on goal because you know that you're going to get it. And so just like a baby learns to eat, right? When he learns to eat, he puts a spoon in his mouth, puts another one in his mouth, puts another one in his mouth, and a few times they might just miss before they get it consistently in their mouth, right? So they might go here, they might go here, might go here, and if you look at babies eat, they've got food all over their face. Interesting story. When I went to Colombia in 2018, I used to work at a school, and basically at this school, like there would be one teacher and like 30 kids all eating this food, and they would literally have food fights, and they would have all these like random things. And then after they'd eaten their lunch, or like tried to eat their lunch, they would just all fall asleep like that. Literally everyone would just be asleep at the table. But even when they ate, and these guys were like maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, even when they ate, they would miss their mouth. They wouldn't get it right. And so when you think about the goals that you set, or the intentions, I should say, when you think about the intention that you set, think about yourself as a baby, okay? You're just a baby that is trying to eat. And this is the first time maybe that you're trying to go on this adventure of starting a business or content creating. The first, second, third, fourth, even 100th time is not going to work. But eventually, and this is why it makes sense now, eventually it does work. Eventually, every single time, you're basically getting crucial feedback that you need to get you closer and closer to hitting that goal in the net, or putting that food actually in your mouth. And then once you've got it in the net and you know how to do it, then you do it every single time. And this is why people see the exponential growth. Think about when a missile was launched. When a missile was launched, right, from fucking, I don't know, USA to China, mate, I didn't just start World War III. But when a missile is launched, right, basically what happens, they give these coordinates. And then so you set the intention. You're like, and I did this recently, I set the intention that I'm going to make 100K per month with minimal staff and with no sales calls. I set the intention. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And every single shot that you take is basically like telling your missile to go somewhere over there. And then every single day or every single week, you basically look back and you say, okay, am I actually getting closer to my goal, or am I going slightly further away? And as a result of doing that, you basically readjust and you course correct as you get more feedback. And that's literally how missiles work. Missiles work by giving you the coordinates, they send it in that direction, but as they get closer and closer to the coordinates that they need to reach, they're constantly readjusting to make sure that they actually hit the coordinates that they need. And this is how your brain and body work. And so when we put excess importance on the goal that we're trying to achieve, on the one shot that we're taking, and then we fail, and then we feel like we're worthless and we give ourselves shit for it, then it literally doesn't allow our brains and bodies to take that extra shot and keep going. And this is the problem, where like we have such a bad relationship with failure, stemming from the conditioning that we should get things right the first time, and we should be paid within a few weeks of the things that we're doing, that we end up just quitting on our goals. Whereas people like Steve Jobs, people other people, they have a completely different relationship with failure. And this is something that I've internalized so much recently, where like, actually the shots that I'm taking every single time, they don't fucking matter. As long as I'm learning and iterating, then that is what matters. And every single time, every single shot, every single rep, every single go at the thing is just getting me closer and closer to what I want. But without that mentality of letting go of the instant quick win, then you're never going to get what you want. And in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm reading it at the moment, and this is an ancient Hindu book. And I'm going to talk about actually some of the benefits of adopting this mindset in a minute. But in this book, basically, there is a guy called Arjuna. And basically, there's a big family war. And Arjuna is the leader of one of the sides, but he's feeling anxious, he's feeling stressed, he's feeling fearful, he's feeling all these different things. And what happens is he consults Lord Krishna to give him guidance. And there is this idea in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavad Gita is basically like the Bible. It's the same. The learnings are exactly the same from both books. There is literally very minimal difference. And I think all of these spiritual books kind of say the same thing, just with different characters, which is great because you can dip into each of them and take learnings and like perceive it in different ways. But anyway, that's besides the point. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna goes to Lord Krishna for advice, there is this idea of karma yoga. And karma yoga is basically this idea of solely focusing on the actions that you're taking and not being obsessed with the material outcome. Not worrying about what the result is of the action that you're taking, but solely focused on the craft and solely focused on getting better at the actions that you're taking. And they use the story of the war and how Arjuna should go into this war and he should just focus on fighting because that is what his duty and responsibility is. And so when you go on this journey of entrepreneurship or go on this journey of content creation, it's not about the results or the material outcome. It's not about any of that. It's about learning the craft and getting good at it. And I want to reframe what I said there because the material outcome is important. That is the guidance mechanism. So you use that as feedback. If you maybe want to get more views on your YouTube video, then yeah, great, you look at that. But you look at it objectively. And I think there's a difference here. You look at the data to inform your next shot, but you don't look at the data and you say to yourself, oh my God, I'm a bad person, I'm a failure, I'm not going to do this again, I'm never going to see success. Because that is the mindset that holds you back. And that is the difference between people like Steve Jobs and you. Steve Jobs, when he saw a failure, when he didn't get something right, he didn't think to himself, oh my God, I'm a bad person, right? He just thought to himself, fuck, like, let me try again. Let me learn from this experience and then go again. And that's what all entrepreneurs do. They just learn, well, successful ones anyway, they take a shot on goal, they learn and they iterate. And this is the problem with the traditional schooling system, right? In the traditional schooling system, what happens is we get taught, we go to school and we get taught, oh yeah, let's learn everything for a fucking whole year. And then we get sat one exam at the end. And so we get taught that this one shot is going to define the rest of our life. And I have cousins, I have like little people that I speak to now and again, a part of this youth club, and they put so much pressure on themselves to achieve great things in their A-levels and the GCSEs. And so did I. When I look back at my experience of school, I was like, yeah, I need to get these good grades. But it creates this mentality and this conditioning in ourselves that, oh my God, like if we don't hit this one goal, then we're never going to achieve what we want in life. But actually, life is the complete opposite. And most people don't know this, but you have unlimited shots on goal. And if you can detach from the outcome in the individual shot that you're taking, and you can tweak your relationship to failure, then as a result of that, you're going to be able to succeed because you're never going to quit. That's why Steve Jobs was able to create such a disruptive company, because right from the beginning, he said, even if we lose our money, we're gonna have a company. And so he realized that actually the beauty is in having the company and actually trying and having a go at something rather than being so dependent on the success of the one shot or the first shot that they're taking. And think about this for a second. The first Apple 1, the first computer that was created, I'm reading Steve Jobs' book and it's an amazing book. I definitely recommend it. Think about this for a second. Apple computer, first one, didn't even have a fucking keyboard, didn't have a case. It was literally just a circuit board that people could hook up to things. That was their first go at building a computer. Now, if they just said, all right, this isn't working, let's just stop here, we're not really good people, then obviously after that, they would have never created what Apple is today. Like, imagine how many iterations of the iPhone there is. It's like iPhone 15 Pro, which is able to do probably some fucking AI agentic shit at the moment. And so when you're approaching your goals, instead of saying this goal, I need it to be successful, just set an intention of like, okay, I'm going to do this, and make sure it's meaningful to you. Don't like listen to what society thinks is important. It's not about what other people, I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but it's not about what other people think. That it's not about your perception of what other people think of you. It's about what you want inside here. And when you set a goal that is intrinsically motivating to you, that you just find fun to do, then success doesn't really matter in the short term. But the problem with this is you can understand everything that I'm saying. You can say, look, I need to change my relationship to failure. And yeah, that might get you some way, but you need to understand this. Your self-worth at the moment is as fragile as a champagne flute at a corporate Christmas party, okay? And the reason why I say this is because I was the same. So I'm not saying it from fucking some pedestal, like I'm some fucking monk now because I've been in Bali and I've been meditating. But no, like this is honestly one of the shifts that I've made, and it's been so crazily impactful for me that I think I feel compelled to share it with you. And it's this idea that we have all these things around us, our career, our relationships, the way that we think that other people think about us. And all of those things basically inform the value that we perceive that we can give to the world. So let me tell you a story. After my first year of university, after my final year of university, I went to go work for a sales prop tech company. And in this prop tech company, I was a sales operation intern. I was actually a sales intern first, but then I got transferred to become a sales operation intern. And in this role, basically, I was actually grinding quite hard. Well, I thought I was. I wasn't actually. But I thought I was developing at the time. I thought I was making good impact. I thought I was doing a good job. And then one day, it was a Friday afternoon, my manager, she's an Eastern European lady, curly haired, quite short, said, let's go for a meeting. And I was like, cool. So we went downstairs into the basement, sat down into this small office. She was sitting in the armchair. She's quite short, so she looked quite small inside the armchair. And I sat opposite, and then she was like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, oh yeah, it's going well. Like, I think, I'm developing a lot. I'm excited for the future. And I really was. Like, I'd created this imagination of the future inside of this company. And I'd really envisioned myself growing and becoming a sales analyst and getting a higher salary, and it was making me feel good. It was the future that was making me feel good about myself. And this is the problem that I'm going to share in a minute. But then what happened was I was told that day, I got taken into this room, I was told that was my last day. And I wasn't even allowed to go back into the office. I was taken outside. My bag was taken from the computer and given back to me. And it was heartbreaking. My heart sank. And on the way home on the tube, I cried my eyes out. And this is the thing. The reason why I was so upset by that thing happening was because the future that I had created for myself in my head, the thoughts that I had about myself, growing inside of this company, increased the level of my self-worth. But when that was taken away from me, when that future was slashed, when those dreams were slashed, then my self-worth plummeted. And this is the problem that I think that we have. And this is something that I think if you want to achieve great things in life, you need to question, where do you derive your self-worth from? Because if you're deriving your self-worth from your achievements, your wins, your losses, the people around you, or what you think that they think of you, like how many times have you sent a message to someone just to basically inflate your ego, to get a response from them that makes you feel good about yourself? That means you're deriving self-worth from someone else, or some perception of someone else's response to you. And maybe when they don't even respond as enthusiastically as you wanted them to, that makes you feel bad. And so you're constantly on this roller coaster of feeling good, feeling bad, feeling good, feeling bad. And Lord Krishna said, the wise are the same in pleasure and pain. And Steve Jobs knew that. When he was a hippie he was working just as hard as a $1 billion CEO. And so this is the point. In order to achieve what you want from life, you have to detach from the short-term material outcomes And to detach from the short-term material outcomes, you have to realize that your self-worth in life is nothing to do with that. Because then you can focus completely on the craft. And when you focus completely on the craft, you get absorbed by it. You're not fucking like eluded by the things of quick wins. And I want to talk about this in a minute, and you experience some great things, but you take a longer term mindset with things. And you realize that actually, if I don't need this material win to inflate my ego and increase my self-worth, then I can do the thing that my heart pleases, not my mind, my heart. And when the heart and the mind connect, some beautiful things happen. And that's what I'm going to share with you next. So number one is the craft becomes play. So just as a little boy goes, so when we're children, we don't actually care about what other people think of us. Our self-worth is actually in a really good place because we don't think about our salary. We don't let those things define us. We don't give a shit. Even the clothes that we wear, our position in society, like it doesn't matter. And that's why children are so generally happy. And just like a child gets interested in maybe Lego, but then a year later or even a few months later gets obsessed by it, and within a blink of an eye, his parents look at his structures and they're like, how the fuck did you make that? Because he becomes so obsessed in it, when you let go of the material outcome, you will become obsessed with the craft because you will follow your natural curiosities because you're not doing something for the material quick win. You're not doing something because it's going to make you some money, but you're doing it because you just feel interested to do it. And that I'm literally experiencing it myself. Like I let go of like material outcomes recently, and I've been building AI agents that repurpose my content and post to LinkedIn. And I'm going to be able to post like 50 plus pieces of content per week in 5 hours of work per week. Imagine the power of that. Like imagine how much value is in that one system that I'm building. And it's only because I followed my natural curiosities, not because I was like focused on trying to niche down and do the things that are going to supposedly give me the material wins that other business gurus promise me, right? And just as Mozart, when he played the piano, was completely obsessed with creating these masterpieces, you will become obsessed on the things that you intrinsically are interested in. And when that happens, the craft becomes play. And what looks like work for others feels like play to you. And the beautiful thing here is that no one else can do what you do at that point. Because you're doing something, right? You're doing something out of sheer interest, sheer obsession, not for some exterior outcome. And other people are like, fucking hell, he's working so hard, he's like always at his desk. But to you, it's just play. And that's when you can actually create beautiful things. And that's why Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs were to create Apple, because they loved the craft of business, electronics, building great products. And that's why Apple was born. And that's why Apple has the iPhone 15 Pro, which can literally do crazy things. I don't even have an iPhone, but I know it can, right? Number two, you'll start to entrust your intuition more. And Steve Jobs has a great quote. And he said that intuition is far power than intellect. And he said that, and most people don't know this about Steve Jobs, but Steve Jobs actually spent a lot of time doing Zen Buddhism. He spent his mornings meditating and the evenings meditating, and then in the afternoon, he would go to Stanford and audit like physics classes and engineering classes. And so he was like this fucking hippie, man. And he would love meditating. He went to India for 7 months. He used to go barefoot on campus. He used to do these weird fruit diets that his mum used to get pissed off about because they were like, why the fuck does he have to eat so weirdly? And so it was to cleanse his body. And I've been reading this book called Reality Transurfing. And one of the things in the book, which is super interesting, is that it says to only eat raw food, which I found really interesting. I'm not trying that, by the way. But apparently if you only eat raw food, it cleanses the body. And one of the things that this mindset and these experiences gave Steve was this idea that you don't need to use your intellect to achieve what you want in life. And actually intuition can be the compass. And what I mean by this is that your intuition guides you. It tells you what direction to roughly go in. But then the intellect is used in the day-to-day. When you're building things, you need that sense of logic to put one foot in front of the other to code, but the intuition is actually the guiding light. You use your heart. And when you let go of the material outcomes, when you let go of the things that used to inflate your self-worth, the things that aren't really real in this material world, then you look inward to derive your self-worth. And when you look inward and you connect to the heart, you realize that actually there's this subtle whisper in your ear that tells you what direction to go in. And when you follow that direction, great things happen. And I think that's what Steve Jobs did, because he was so in tune with his intuition by doing the meditation, going to India, seeking these deep experiences. He was able to just trust that guiding light to take him from being a hippie to being a trillion-dollar CEO. Number 3, you stop being so chained to the work that you're doing. When you let go of the material outcomes, when you let go of all the things that inflate your self-worth, you realize that actually you don't need to force things so much, because there is no quick win that you're trying to get. And when you force things, you actually don't allow yourself the space to explore the alternatives. So when I was fired from my most recent job, yes, I've been fired twice. This was about 18, 19 months ago now. It was September 2023. And so let me tell you a story. In September 2023, I was a data scientist for a consulting company. And this consulting company, I'd been getting pretty frustrated because I don't feel like I was doing any meaningful work there. I was kind of just getting told to do bullshit tasks. And in my head, I knew that this was the case. My intuition was telling me to quit. And what I did was I started basically looking for other jobs, which was fine. But obviously the energy that I was giving off didn't help. Maybe I was a bit lazy. I didn't really go into the office, and I couldn't bring myself to, maybe go that extra mile that you would if you're passionate about a job. So what happened one day, I walked into the office. Well, I didn't walk into the office by random. I walked into the office because I'd been called in for a meeting. And the same thing that happened a few years back happened again, where I was told that it was my last day, but this time I was being through the old roller coaster of being fired. So I was like, you know what, fuck it, it's all right. I'll figure myself out. And it's probably the best thing that happened, to be fair, looking back. And afterwards, I basically was like, oh, I need to get another job. I need to get another job. Because again, we're conditioned for these material outcomes. We're conditioned to think that we need a monthly salary. We're conditioned to think that we need these fruits of our labor so quickly. And if we don't, we're going to fucking die and we're going to fucking lose everything. But when you just relax and you release, and Michael Singer has this he wrote The Untethered Soul, and he has this great quote, relax and release. When you relax and release and you actually just let go of that material outcome, that quick win, you can actually look at things from a slightly broader perspective, and you realize, oh my God, I can do all these different things. And that is what led me to start my first business, which was a coaching business, which I'm actually really proud that I did. But if I didn't relax and release, what would have happened is I would have continued on that path. I would have tried to go and get data engineering jobs, which is what I was doing at first when I wasn't relaxed, when I was obsessed with getting this material outcome, because all my friends had it. And I was like, oh my God, if I don't have a job, then I'm unworthy again. But then when I relaxed and I released and I realized that, the monthly salary doesn't actually define the worth that I can add to this world, then it allowed me to explore other alternatives and kind of just sit in that uncertainty a little bit more and find the thing that actually find the next step for me that was right for me at that moment. Number 4, when you relax and release, and this is a benefit that is derived from the same benefit of the point before, you get to give yourself space. And when you give yourself space, you don't feel so obsessed with just sitting and doing the work and being in this state of narrow focused action. One of the things that most people don't realize, especially in this age of knowledge work, which is based on the Industrial Revolution, is that the time spent at a desk is not directly proportional to the quality of work that you're going to deliver. We are in the age of AI. And the age of AI, means that most busy work is going to be conducted by machines, I can literally tap a button now and create a YouTube script. That is pretty good. I can tap a button now and create literally a video, a clone of me speaking, and looks exactly like me, and post that on social media. And I can do that at scale. And so doing things with your time is 100% actually not the best use of your time. I'm going to explain this a little bit more clearly. But when you are working at a desk job, you're doing things, right? But the thing is, the Industrial Revolution has given us this perception that time equals money, that time spent doing a task is the value that is derived from it. But in this age of AI, just as I said, all the busy work is going to be done by machines, right? You can have chatbots, you can do all these things. So then where is value derived from? And it's derived from the quality of our ideas. And something beautiful happens when you actually realize that and you actually let go of the material outcome and you take yourself out of the narrow focused action that you're doing because you think that you need to do it, because you think that's going to give you the quick win that you're going to get. You give yourself space. And Jobs really liked walking, Steve Jobs. Einstein liked to play the violin. Feynman liked the bongo drums. Richard Feynman is this incredible physicist. Darwin, imagine Charles Darwin, who revolutionized the way that we think about the creation of this world. He basically invented this idea of evolution, or he came up with this idea of evolution and literally changed the world. Worked 4 hours a day. He would basically get to his desk at 8 a.m. He would do a long walk before that in the morning. He would work for an hour and a half. Then he would read letters. Then he would go for another walk. Then he would come back. So he would work 4 hours a day. And he was able to change the world because of his ideas. And so now, especially because of AI, the way that you're going to get measured, the value that you can add to the world is not because of the work that you can do, but it's going to come from the quality of your ideas. And that is going to come from being openly focused. And what I mean by that is allowing room for serendipity. Some of the best ideas that you have, over there's a whiteboard. And on that whiteboard, I've got a bunch of notes that I've written down. And all those notes came from just before I went to sleep yesterday night. I had all these random ideas, and that is when the best ideas happen. It's when you're in this state of open focus. In your brain, there is something called the default mode network. So when you set a goal, when you're working on tasks, when you're working on projects, and you're not focused on it, but you're doing other things like washing the dishes, going for a walk, when your mind is left to wander from one idea to another, your default mode is working. Basically, using all the things that you've consumed, all the things that you've been thinking about, and trying to create these connections to create this picture in your head that is a solution to the problems that you're trying to solve. If you don't give yourself the space, by letting go of the material outcome, by not being so focused on the things that you're doing, then as a result of that, what is going to happen is you're going to allow yourself for these moments of serendipity, to have these random creative ideas. And the thing is, this is the most important thing in the age of AI. You're not going to be measured on the amount of work that you can do, the amount of time that you can spend at a desk, the billable hours, but you're going to be measured on the quality of your ideas, your ability to create. And creativity comes from open focus, serendipity. And number 5, once you let go of the material outcome, and this is such a powerful mindset to adopt that most people don't have, because again, we're addicted to short-term salaries, we're addicted to the quick win, is you'll start to think long-term. You won't think in terms of weeks and months, but you'll think in terms of a year and a decade. And the thing is, just as a skyscraper needs a better foundation or a stronger foundation that takes longer to build than a house, the thing that you're going to achieve in your life is going to need a stronger foundation that takes longer to build than something that is going to give you a material outcome in a month. And so when you start to think longer term, you're able to create a vision that is way bigger than what you've experienced before. And let me give you some examples. Netflix, after they IPO'd in 2002, had 8 to 9 years of losses. And think about what Netflix is now, okay? And just to give you an example, or just to bring it to light about how amazing of a company Netflix is, but Netflix, Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph, when it first started, would post DVDs to people, and within 2 days they would have it in their house. And after they got it in their house, they would watch it and they would have to send it back. And it would be this service where you'd pay per use, basically. And now what it is this company where you can sit on the Northern Line because you have access to Wi-Fi, and you can tap your phone and you can have access to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is hours worth of content. That is crazy. But in order to build that company to that point where it is so big, it is so large, it has such a big impact, it basically is on every single person's phone in the Western world, they had to go through 8 to 9 years of losses, reinvesting back the profits into the business. And so when you think about your own life, when you're thinking about detaching from the short-term material outcome to really build something great, it is imperative that you do that, because then it allows you to think way longer term, and it allows you to think about things that you're going to achieve in 10 years, not just in a few weeks. And that's when you can actually achieve something great. All right, so these benefits and this mindset sounds great, okay? You understand now that you've been conditioned to think that you need a monthly salary, you need this material outcome in the short term to feel good about yourself. You understand that maybe at the moment your self-worth is a little bit fragile because you're placing the value that you have in this world on all the things around you. You understand that actually you need to shift your mindset in order to bring your self-worth within, to experience all the benefits that I just said before. But how are you actually going to internalize this? Because this is this thing that most people don't do, but if you do, can change your life. Letting go of the material outcome and looking inward is not just a one and done, but is a practice. It's something that you have to do every single day, right? Every single day, in order to keep this mindset top of mind. This is probably why Steve Jobs meditated every single day. I don't know if he did it in his later years, but at the beginning he was doing it for like hours, man. Like he was literally like working on Apple forms. Like those formative years of being this like hippie spiritual guy formed the way that he saw the world, and like allow him to really let go. He even did LSD a lot, because again, when you do that, and he has this great quote, which is like, you realize that there's another side to the coin of life, to the one that you're just physically experiencing. But you can't achieve that other side of the coin if you don't practice it from now, every single day. So I thought I would share with you 3 of the practices that I do on a daily basis in order to be this person that is able to distort reality and not be so attached to the quick wins, the material outcomes that my ego wants so much, because it makes me feel better about myself. So number 1, this is a really simple practice, but if you can do it every single day, and it's not easy, can have tremendous impact. But before I share it with you, I need to explain that when you're attached to these material outcomes, it's not actually the material outcomes that you're attached to, but it's the thoughts in your head that make you feel good about the material outcomes. It's the thoughts in your head about the material outcomes that make you feel better about yourself, that makes you feel attached to them. Because if you don't have the material outcomes, then you feel worse about yourself. And this is just a thought in your head, right? It's just an idea in your mind. It's a construct in your mind that we've actually just been conditioned to think. And so this practice is just literally the process of sitting down for maybe 10 minutes, closing your eyes every single day. It's called meditation. And when you sit down for 10 minutes, close your eyes and focus on your breath, you realize that thoughts are just the object of your consciousness. Thoughts are just things that appear and disappear. And so when later on in the day, you're having thoughts about, oh, you need to do this because you're going to get this material win, you can dismiss it and be like, oh, it's just my consciousness coming up with things, just like a sensation in my body. And you don't need to be so attached to it. And when you detach from it is when you can let go. And when you let go, well, all the great things happen. So that's number 1. Number 2 is to do something that actually Uber did. So one of the reasons why Uber is such a successful company, and most people don't know this, but it's because Uber is got a map. And what they realized is that people don't like waiting for cabs, but they don't not like waiting for cabs. They don't dislike waiting for cabs, not because it takes a long time, but because when a cab is coming and you don't know when it's going to arrive, it creates this sense of uncertainty. And like I said, we don't like uncertainty. Uncertainty means danger. Certainty and predictability means that we are safe. And this goes back to the evolutionary psychology, where if you have uncertain outcomes, you are going to feel a little bit like, oh my God, resistance. But one way Uber basically reduced the uncertainty is by putting a map on the screen. And it showed people where the car was. And I didn't even know if it was accurate at the beginning. But simply by having the map on the screen, which shows you where the car is, people didn't have that uncertainty. And as a result of that, the complaints were lower. And you'll see people like McDonald's and KFC do this with the times that they put. So if you go to McDonald's in the UK, I don't know if there's anywhere else, but you'll do your order, you'll go to the front, and you will basically, a number will come on the screen and it'll say preparing, and then it will say ready. They do that. It's not fucking like measuring, it's not actually accurate. It's basically an estimation of when your order will be ready and how long it will take. And they probably have some algorithm to figure out, but they do that because it reduces the amount of uncertainty and it improves the customer experience, because people are like, oh my God, my order is being prepared and then it's going to be ready. And people like that certainty. And so one of the things that you can do when you're doing this new thing that is going to allow you to achieve great things is practice something that I like to call the worst case scenario. And I think, this has been talked about. It's not something new. It's been talked about by Tim Ferriss, Alex Hormozy, these great guys that have achieved great things. Basically just play out what the worst case scenario is. And for me, like, I do this now and again because right now I'm not earning a crazy amount of money, but I'm working on my business, I'm working on my brand. And when I play out the worst case scenario, it's not as bad as it actually my mind jumps to when there is this sense of uncertainty. And so when you play out the worst case scenario, you come to this conclusion that actually it's not that bad. The certainty, even if things were to go to shit, isn't that bad. And so I can actually just continue on this path of doing this new and unpredictable thing that actually over time will yield way better results than the predictable route, the certain misery. So whenever you're feeling a little bit like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, or, oh, like, oh my God, like, this isn't going to work or whatever, just remember, play out the worst case scenario. Number 3, and this is super powerful, and I hate to say this to you, but you are nothing. Just look up at the sky, look at the clouds, look at the stars one night, and just imagine the universe, and you're just this little speck that is there. And you're just so insignificant. Because in our heads, our ego, and this is what the ego is this idea of ourself and this construct of ourself, we create this inner importance. But when we have this inner importance, it means that because we feel like we are this important being, the actions that we take are important. And it creates this idea of the spotlight effect. When we post something on social media, we think other people are going to think bad things of us, and we are status orientated because we come from monkey tribes and we care about what other people think. And survival back in the day was actually hinged on us having a prominent place in our society and in our tribe. And so that's why we have this ingrained belief that we need to be good or be of value in the eyes of others. And so when you think of this really, really, really big world of like the stars in the sky, the clouds, and you look at this vast mindset, this vast world, you go onto the mountain and you realize all of these things, it basically makes you realize that, oh my God, like, I'm just in my head. It doesn't really matter. Let's just have fun. And again, that allows you to let go. That allows you to go and do what your heart pleases, and then you experience all the benefits that I shared with you earlier, and actually allows you to distort reality, like I said too. And everyone dies, and everyone gets forgotten. And Alex Hormozy said this recent quote about the Queen earlier, and it was like, the Queen of England died like 2 years ago, whenever it was, and no one thinks about her. And you're only thinking about her right now because I've said her and I've mentioned her, but like, she was the most important figure in English history for a while, or it was the most important event, or like impactful event, or whatever the word is for it. Ages. Like, she was a really important figure in the UK, and even the fact that she died and a few hours later no one really thinks about her shows that we're not as insignificant. We're not as significant as we think we are. And just reminding yourself of that whenever you get in your head can help you kind of relax and release, let go, and have a bit more fun about things, which allows us to achieve what we want. And by the way, there's also one more thing. Whenever you have a good idea about something and you're like, oh, it's going to be right, it's going to be wrong, like, just remember that like every great idea, every record, every new invention always gets beaten. Someone in a lifetime in 10 years, in 20 years will come along and they'll beat you. And so, yeah, right now, maybe the next idea that you have is going to change the world. But in 20 years, the world is going to be changed again and again and again and again. And so again, reminding yourself of that insignificance allows you to be a bit more playful about life and allows you to achieve what you want. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps. Remember, just let go. Nothing is that important. And go and do what your heart pleases to distort reality and achieve great things. Peace.